Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. After successfully holding Indonesian FinTech Summit and Expo in Jakarta last year, we are proudly present and welcome you to the Indonesia FinTech Summit 2020, Virtual Conference Days 11 to 12 November 2020. In the topic, To Survive and to Thrive, Accelerating National Economic Recovery through concerted efforts in the digitization of Indonesia's financial services. Ladies and gentlemen, please let me introduce myself. My name is Astri Megatari, and I will be the master of ceremony for today's event. In this opening session, we will be having several agenda, namely 1. Visionary Talk 1, Ticket to Ride, Journey to Recover and Prosper Through Digital Economy by the former Finance Minister of Finance, the Republic of Indonesia. 2. Visionary Talk 2, To Be or Not to Be, Inclusive Innovation and Technology for MSMEs. 3. Highlighter Session 2, Piece by Piece, Key Drivers for Accelerating Digitization in Financial Services Sector. 4. Hard Talk 2, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly Ethical Business Conduct Violation in FinTech. And after lunch break, we'll be having 4 classroom with 8 topics. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor for me to introduce Dr. Muhammad Khatib Basri, former Minister of Finance, the Republic of Indonesia. Good morning. Bapak Teten Mas Duki, Minister of Cooperative and MSMEs, the Republic of Indonesia. Good morning, sir. Bapak Bambang Brojonegoro, Minister of Research and Technology of the Republic of Indonesia. Good morning, Bapak Bambang. And Ibu Nur Haida, the Vice Chairman of OJK. Good morning, Ibu. Notable representatives of government agencies and financial services industry, all the speakers and moderators, we also welcome all the guests to the Indonesia FinTech Summit 2020 Day 2. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we are opening today's session with a keynote speech by the former Finance Minister of the Republic of Indonesia. Please welcome Bapak Dr. Muhammad Khatib Basri. Good morning, Bapak Khatib Basri.
Andini, can you hear me now?
Good morning, Bapak Khatib. Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Can I start now?
Yes, please deliver the keynote speech.
Thank you very much, Andini. A very good morning to all of you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi dan salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. It is a great an opportunity to talk to all of you this morning regarding the journey for the economic recovery in Indonesia and the role of the economic digital. I do prepare some slides here. I'm not really sure how much time do I have. If I'm not mistaken, it's about 30 minutes at a max. Am I right? Yeah. So let me try to share some of my slides here, perhaps. Okay. Okay. Can you see my slides, Andini?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir. We can see your slides.
Okay.
It is now appearing on the screen.
Okay. Thank you very much then. Let me start by putting the background of the economic recovery path in Indonesia and the role of the economic digital. Yeah. Let me start by looking what is happening in the other part of the world about the global and economic and geopolitical situation, which is, I believe, that will have an impact to many economies, including Indonesia. One of the most important question today about the global geopolitical situation is what will be the impact of the outcome of the election in the US. Yeah, as all of us know that Joe Biden has elected as the new president-elect. Yeah, and then the important and interesting question is, with that situation, would the US change the policy towards China regarding the trade tension? Perhaps it is too early to make a conclusion, but in my view, probably the trade tension will continue, although perhaps in the less erratic form. Yeah, in the sense that probably we will not see the open trade war, but I think the issue between China and the US is go beyond trade. It is more on the rivalry between the two economic powers, as people in the international relation understand the situation as the Thucydides trap, yeah, in which the rising power, you know, try to sort of like to penetrate the market, yeah, and then probably the established power, a country like United States, will not easily accept that situation. So looking at the situation, maybe the trade tension will continue, because I do believe that both Republican and Democrat will be bipartisan regarding the issue of China. So the implication is probably a country like Indonesia, we need to continue to prepare with the trade tension between US and China, even though perhaps it's not in the form of the open trade war. Yeah. Now let me move to the economic situation in Indonesia. About a week ago, the Central Bureau of Statistics already announced the third quarter result. Indonesia entered the recession because in the third quarter, the economy grew by minus 3.5%. Yeah, and then second quarter was around 5.3. But I would say that there is a hope at the end of the tunnel, because we could see from these charts there was an economic turnaround. So the economy already hit the bottom on the second quarter and turned around in the third quarter to less contractive, to become minus 3.5%. So I do believe this is some hope, yeah, related to that. So probably we will face a kind of sort of like a situation in which that recovery path will follow like the swoosh shape or the Nike logo brand. Yeah. One thing that I would like to highlight, this economic recovery, I think has to do because the fiscal stimulus has been deployed by the government, yeah, especially focused on the social assistance like the cash transfer, etc. Yeah, but let me look at more on the pattern of consumption. It is very interesting if you look at about the consumption. Not all of the sectors experience, a very severe situation. Look at the education and health. especially driven by the health sector. Even though the economy, the sector is slowing down, but still relatively less compared to other sectors. The reason behind it is because the contribution of the health sector, especially the pharmaceutical health. And this is very interesting, consistent with the result if you look at the GDP growth by industry. Because if you look at the GDP growth by industry, the sector of information and communication is doing very well. They grew by about almost 11%, even during the COVID. So my point is, even though the overall economy is slowing down, Indonesia is entering the recession, but there are some sectors still doing relatively okay, especially the information and communication. And what is the information and communication? It is digital economy. So somehow it gives a signal to us that one way to survive the COVID-19 situation, if companies can transform themselves into the digital, using the digital technology. So this is really the key. And this makes sense because the essence of the economy is about market. Any transaction will happen through the market. And then by definition, market is a place where people can exchange goods and services through virtual or physically. And because the pandemic, we cannot do the exchange physically, then we have to do by digital. So there is a very important role of the digital technology here. So let me look at the spending pattern. This is very interesting, that during the PSBB, the social distancing, the sales from the supermarket increased quite substantially. It's really changing the behavior of people. Why? Because they stay at home. So they borrow all the stuff from the supermarket, groceries, and then once the government did reopen the economy, the sales from supermarkets down and then flat, but still above 100%, above normal. But on the contrary, the case of department stores and restaurants, because it requires the physical presence, then their spending on department store and restaurant still below the normal. And look at the consumer spending. If you look at the pattern of spending, it is very interesting. This is based on the high income group, the middle income group, and low income group. The one who spend the money is the low income group, about 84 out of the normal situation of 100%. And why is that? Because they don't have savings. So once they receive the money, the cash transfer from the government, they're gonna spend it. But what about the high income group? The high income group, they don't spend money. So they cut their consumption, they're putting some money into savings. And then the interesting part is, look at this. There are particular products in which the middle income, the upper income group spend more than the normal situation with its hobbies. And that's explained why the demand for bicycle, for tanaman hias, or ikan hias, like ikan cupang, etc., are very popular. So one thing that I would like to share with you on with this chart is there is a changing of the behavior. And the advantage of the digital technology, they can detect the behavior change of the people. So if the companies can transform themselves into the digital technology, they can look at also the changing of the behavior and then anticipate what kind of product they need to do. Let me show some other behavior change. After the government reopened the economy picking up, but after that flat. Look at the mobility for the workplaces. I'm using this big data from Google Mobility, Humanitarian Exchange, grocery and pharmacy, picking up and then slow down. Retail picking up, slow down. Parks picking up, slow down. Residentials, people stay at home and then go outside, but after that flat. So basically, after the reopening, people back to the activities, but not entirely. How do we explain this? It is very interesting when I try to do some simulation to understand about this behavior. Every time people go to workplaces, mall, restaurant, transit station, grocery, the number of new cases increase. So it means that mobility, if people go outside the house, there is a risk of the mobility. Yeah. The interesting case is when the new death case increase, people stay at home, but less than 5 days. And after that, they go outside again. And this has to do with the behavioral economics, what we call like optimism bias, because we believe that people tend to overestimate about their own situation and then underestimate other people's situation. So they do believe that they are very careful or healthier than the other people. So it's okay for them to go outside. So the behavior pattern play a very important role. So now let me move, under this kind of situation, what will be the shape of recovery? U-shape or probably the swash shape? But one thing that I will say that after reopening, showing improvement, but short-lived. Yeah, and the main problem is, as I said, weak demand, external factors. And then the social distancing, it only worked if the government could provide the social protection. Because the poor people, if you ask them to stay at home and you don't provide the social protection, will be very difficult for them. The middle lower income group, they spend money, but the purchasing power is very low. The middle upper income group, they do have money, they do have purchasing power, but they don't spend because the concern is about the pandemic. So there is a changing of the behavior here, and how to understand the behavior. One thing that came up to my mind that can help us to understand the situation if we use the digital technology. So that is why on this right for the economic recovery, the role of the digital technology become very important. Let me show some data. I'm using the data from the Bank Mandiri from the EDC. If you look at all the transaction, it is very clear that most of the economic activities shift into the digital technology. So the one who could survive this COVID situation, the pandemic situation, is the one who could transform themselves into the digital technology. Similar, offline and online. If you look at offline and online transaction at the Bank Mandiri, increased quite substantially. The offline, for example, on the department store dropped minus 18%. The online, this is the data, it's a long time ago, it's on March at the time. Online increase, the household, Netflix, restaurant. So this is just an anecdotal evidence to show that there is a transformation about this digital. So we can see from this process that the role of the digital technology become very crucial. And not only that, if we want to help the people, we need to do the financial inclusion. And the best way to do it, the financial inclusion, is through the so-called like the fintech, the peer-to-peer lending, etc. Because they do have a profile. Yeah, they can do a credit score, they can help people. So it could reduce the possibility of the non-performing loan. So I can imagine the role of the digital technology will become very important. And here is my last two slides. With the lockdown and social distancing, definitely will have an impact on the economy. And I call this current situation is the accidental transformation. The digital technology is there, but probably the transformation before was relatively slow. But because this pandemic, business are forced to shift their business model that leverage digital infrastructure for production, supply chain management, and the delivery goods and services. So we speeded up the process because this accidental transformation, we need to embrace the digital technology. And using the digital technology, using the big data, like the one that I showed before about how to understand about the mobility, the relationship between mobility and decision to stay at home, to go to groceries, etc. This will help us, the artificial intelligence and modeling in the pandemic response. So role of the digital technology is a key, is a very important in helping the economy during the recovery process. And social protection, I can imagine now one of the biggest problem with the social protection in Indonesia is about data. Yeah, because the latest data updated was around 2015, if I'm not mistaken. But maybe the government could think to explore the possibility to work with the telco and using the profiling from the SIM card data, because using the SIM card data, they can do the profiling about the lower middle income group, the upper middle income group based on their consumption on the SIM card. And the government maybe can use even the disbursement of the cash transfer using the SIM card, using the pulsa, and then can be cash out in the groceries, in the Indomaret, Link Aja, etc. Yeah. So the role of this digital technology become very crucial, even in the social protection data. Yeah. To help also for the gender gap, because with the home technology, people could stay at home. Ibu-ibu can continue to work, but at the same time taking care of their kids, for example. So this will help the financial inclusion. And not only that, green recovery, because using this digital technology, that could help us. So one thing that I would like to highlight, this will be my last slide. Yeah. If the key of this economic recovery, one of the important key of this economic recovery is the transformation of the digital technology. But unfortunately, technology is very expensive and not available to all the people. So that is why the design of the fiscal policy, for example, should taking care about the digital infrastructure, because otherwise people in the eastern part of Indonesia perhaps will not be able to have an access for the digital infrastructure. And then this is also very expensive. So my suggestion related to that is maybe if companies doesn't have the DNA or the capability of the digital transformation, perhaps they can do a collaboration with the aggregator, with the people in the tech technology, which I call it is a native because they're already there long before this current situation. So that kind of collaboration perhaps can help us to expedite the economic recovery process in Indonesia. So with that, I leave it up here and thank you very much.